Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about a new spin-off film to the Spider-Man franchise that's from the Sony Pictures company, and that is the film Madam Web. Madam Web is a Spider-Man character that's helped Spider-Man with like intergalactic threats and helped Spider-Man predict the future and stuff. So she's shown up in a couple of comics every once in a while. Stan Lee's wife actually played or voiced the character in the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s, so that's kind of a fun thing to know. So Madam Web does have her own film now, and so basically in this film, you guys, Dakota Johnson, who's Don Johnson's daughter in real life, plays this paramedic in New York. Randomly one day while she's kind of at work, she's able to predict the future. She's able to kind of see things before they happen. So it's kind of like a final destination kind of a vision that she has. And so over the course of this film, she basically finds out about this man that has spider-like abilities, kind of like Spider-Man, but he isn't Spider-Man. Looks more like the Miles Morales Spider-Man suit, to be honest with you. But basically, he's out to kill this group of girls who he claims that he has this nightmare about that's going to someday come and kill him as these spider women. And so basically, after kind of doing some research and kind of finding out what they might look like when they were younger and stuff, he manages to track down these group of girls who are all kind of in the subway area one day. And because Madam Web is able to predict the future, basically, she sees this terrible fate for these girls if they don't get the proper protection that they need from this man. And so, over the course of this film, Madam Web has to protect these young girls who will eventually someday become Spider Women within the Spider Man universe. And we also kind of find out the fate of Madam Web and kind of the value she has for these spider characters in the course of this Spider Man world. But overall, guys, I did not like this film at all. For those who are kind of are good about keeping up with movie reviews and Rotten Tomatoes and all these places that have reviews for this film, this is not a good movie. I can see why a lot of people are upset. I can see why a lot of people, specifically Spider-Man fans, Marvel fans, are not happy at all with this movie. It is not good. It is not well made. It's not very insightful on the Madam Web character. I don't think it's going to get people interested in this character if Sony has additional plans, whether it's putting this character in another film or giving her a sequel or any of that stuff. This film does not do the trick at all. So let's go over some positives and negatives, mostly negatives though, of why Madam Web did not work for me personally too. For my positives, the few good things I can say about it is there is this little cat character that Dakota Johnson runs into over the course of this movie. She's kind of a little stray cat. She needs attention, needs help. And so over the course of this movie, whenever Dakota Johnson's trying to figure things out, she basically has this young stray cat kind of come into her apartment and she takes care of her and it's really cute. It kind of reminds me of the cat that I have. And so very cute little cat character. Definitely one of the better things to come out of this movie is this Dakota Johnson character has this cute cat in her life that needs all the milk and attention that she needs as a cat. Another positive I can give this movie is there's sparks of team chemistry. I want to be careful how I compliment this because it's not terrifically well done, but there is sparks of a team chemistry amongst these young girls that Madam Web has to protect in this movie. More so in the second half of the film than the first half for me personally. The first half, it didn't work at all. They're just kind of these obnoxious teenagers that are trying to figure out what's going on and why Madam Web needs to be a part of their life and stuff like that. But there's sparks of team chemistry. If Sony were to have a future with these Spider Women, if they were to have their own film, if there was a future, and if there was obviously a better script for them to work with, I could see them working as a team overall. Like I said, there's sparks of an idea, there's sparks of greatness. It's not great, but there's sparks of greatness. It's just barely there. So I think the team chemistry portion between these Spider Women could have worked better, obviously with a better script. But for my negatives of this movie, there are tons of them. The dialogue in this film is absolutely awful. It's very wooden. It almost feels like some of these actors and actresses just didn't care on set, so they just kind of gave the dialogue that was written on the page, did not do any kind of extra personality or punch to it. They just delivered it exactly like it was on the page. And because the script is so terrible, it comes off as wooden, it comes off as bad, it comes off as bland. Definitely not a well-written film at all. It is very terrible dialogue in this movie. There's also a lot of cheap Pepsi product placement in this movie. There's probably like 6 or 7 nods to Pepsi in this movie, and unfortunately, one of those references shows up during like the final fight of the movie with the final villain, and it's just very cheap. It does not feel authentic. It almost kind of makes me not want a Pepsi just because it's done in such bad taste and so in your face about it. I haven't seen such bad product placement since Leonard Part 6, to be honest with you, and that one has really, really bad Coca-Cola product placement. So very cheap product placement here. Definitely not wanting me to buy a Pepsi at all with all the Pepsi stuff they do in this movie. I also didn't like the costume design in this movie when Madam Web and her Spider Women character friends finally get their costumes. It does not look good. It looks like a very cheap, like $20 cosplay. It's like we can only spend $20 per person, and that's all the money we have left. And that's kind of what it felt like. Whether it was Sydney Sweeney's character, whether it was Madam Web or the other two Spider Women, these costumes do not look good. They looked very cheap. They look like something out of a very low budget made for TV movie or some type of cosplay that for an event that nobody's going to go attend. It looks very bad. I don't know what they were thinking with the costume design. It looks very bad and cheap in this movie, unfortunately. I also thought the acting and the writing was very bad in this movie. Dakota Johnson, like I said, literally just delivers exactly what the line on the page says. And I know she's a good actress because I have seen The Social Network and she has a role in that. So I know it's not her as an actress that's being bad. It really is this material that they provided for. It is not good. She's also with people that I know have delivered good performances in the past, like Adam Scott, Emma Roberts, Mike Epps is in this movie, believe it or not, if you can believe that. Black Doug from The Hangover, for those who don't know who that is. Yeah, it's just not a well-written movie, not a well-acted movie. I did not like either one of those in this movie. And that goes into my next point. I thought the editing of this film is terrible. I did not like how they did the whole future predictions with Madam Web. I think they could have done a more tasteful way of maybe we see it as it plays out, and like maybe there's like I don't know, like a web-shaped thought bubble or something dumb like that. The way they did it was not the right way. I didn't like how the future prediction thing worked because it just felt repetitive. It just like, oh wait, this already happened. How come we're seeing this again and all this other stuff? And I just didn't like the way the film was put together. Just the editing was very bad. The use of future predicting was just certainly not another Final Destination. It was not that well done. I also thought a lot of the green screening in this film was also very bad. There's just a lot of shots where Dakota Johnson's driving an ambulance as a paramedic, and clearly it's one of those Flintstones, same buildings passing by type of green screens because it just looks very fake, really bad. You can almost kind of see the white light from the green screen. It looks bad. It looks really terrible. There's even things that they do because I think this film's supposed to take place in 2003. To make it feel like it is 2003, like the phones aren't very good, like not a lot of people have them, and there's like a Blockbuster video they drive by, and there's like a Beyonce album that they drive by and stuff, and just stuff to really cheaply make it feel like it's in 2003. And it does not help that the green screen effects don't look very believable at all. I would even say, too, the visual effects are also very bad in this movie. There's like this significant spider that the villain gets in this movie, and when he's holding it in like a jar, it looks like a Windows 95 graphic when this little spider's crawling around in this little container. Not believable at all. Clearly, it's a fake spider. I think the whole point of visual effects is to make it seem seamless with the reality that we're witnessing within the story. I just did not believe a single visual effect in this movie. It just did not look real at all to me. And my other negative too, and I've seen a lot of people brought this up, and I kind of agree with them now that I've seen this movie. I don't know who this movie is made for. I don't know if it's for the Spider-Man fans. It clearly isn't because they don't do a good job adapting the Madam Web material. I don't think it's for people that don't know Madam Web or don't know a lot about Spider-Man because there's just not a lot here to get them invested or interested in other Spider-Man properties. So it's clearly not for them. It's not for kids because there's a lot of scenes in this movie where people are having affairs with each other and there's teenagers with issues and all that other stuff. So clearly it's not for them because I don't think kids would be very interested in seeing a Spider-Man film about that. I just don't know who this movie's made for. I don't know if there's something where Sony has to keep making these in order to maintain the rights for Spider-Man, since Marvel owns a lot of the rights and so does Disney. I don't know. I don't know what happened here. I don't know who this movie was made for. I do not know. I honestly do not know who this movie is made for. It clearly wasn't made for me. It clearly wasn't made for Spider-Man fans. I don't know who it was made for. That makes this film very frustrating to get through. I also thought the villain of this film was very stale, just a very bad performance. Once again, going back to the wooden dialogue, and I really don't get his motivation either. It's just like maybe get to know these young girls first, and I don't know, just the motivation, how they set it up. It didn't work for me, and I'm sure it didn't work for a lot of other people. Just a really terrible villain, very stale villain in this movie. And overall, there's just some really laughable moments in this movie. Without getting into spoilers for those who are going to try to go see this thing, there's these people that live in the jungle at the beginning of this movie where I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Like the way their costumes look, the way they behave, the way they move around, the way that they actually like crawl through trees like spiders and stuff. It's like, this does not work. It's like, come on, guys. And then going into my last negative, there's just a lot of unexplained elements in this movie. Um, I guess one I can tell you about without spoiling the film is there's this character that's good with computers and like security cameras of the New York City. How does the villain know this person? It's just like, and not only that, how does the villain of the film, like, does she have time to rest? Do they take turns? Do they? It's just like, how do they know each other? And like, it's just like, how do they know each other? And it's just like, it's like, doesn't this woman have a life too? And it's just like, there's just so many things where it's just like, what were they thinking when they wrote this movie? Maybe they weren't thinking. I don't know, but Madam Web, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. It's just not a good movie. It's not worth your time. I don't know what Sony gains from making this movie. Clearly, it's just to maintain the rights to the Spider-Man for whatever they have left from Marvel. I did not like this movie. Do not see Madam Web. It's very bad. Probably one of the worst films I've seen in a couple years, to be honest with you. Um, do not see Madam Web. It's a 2 out of 10 for me. Not a film that I would recommend.